Hi, Dave here, and today we're going to do another art chat slash art demo. Well, not really, because I'm planning to have like a video again, kind of playing in the background. Essentially, I'm trying to separate the audio from the video, right? Because usually I do things, or recently I did things kind of real time, where I would talk and paint at the same time. So it's kind of like a demo, but I'm also talking about random ideas, right? But I don't know, I feel like I should separate it again because I have been getting some feedback about how people prefer to listen to the audio while they paint, and once in a while they'll just check on the video to see the progress of it, right? And I actually do like that kind of setup, right? Because if I do the demo and the chat at the same time, I feel like having that split attention is just not going to lead to the best results, right? Because sometimes you'll see like dead air or hear dead air while I'm doing the video, so it's kind of I should probably change things up a bit. And the issue is trying to make or record videos of me sketching or painting, right? Like, how do I, do that schedule, or how do I make that more consistent, right? Or what's my system for doing that kind of thing? Anyway, today I want to talk about how to stop, or not how to stop, but like I personally need to stop painting from imagination, because it's like I'm trying to force it in. Excuse me, I have coffee here. Yeah, I'm just trying to force myself to paint something from imagination, and I tend to paint the same things. First of all, yeah, I do tend to paint the same things, and not just that, but the content, like the substance of the concept, isn't really like well fleshed out, right? So it's kind of like I'm forcing a gesture to be a painting, essentially. You know what I mean? Like I can't seem to add anything in, right? And I'm forcing myself to add something in from imagination. And we all know that imagination is heavily based on your experience, right? And that's the thing, I don't have enough experience, and yet I keep trying to paint things from imagination. And like I'm so focused on the output of things, right, that I forget to input certain things, ideas, concepts, right? And I do think there's like we have to separate time for creation and time for consumption. And by consumption, I don't mean like passive consumption where you like watch a film or something, but I mean like studies, like you have to consume content, break down content, analyze content, right? And I do think you need to have a healthy balance, I guess, of both. Sometimes you need to create more, sometimes you need to consume or study more. And in my case, I do think I'm so focused on creation that I'm not adding anything in, right? And your situation may be different, right? But yeah, it's just something that I have to deal with. I have to just paint from reference or draw from reference, use more reference, or don't. Essentially what I'm trying to do here is, or what I want to do, or my aim here, is to, for some time, just paint or draw only with references. So that's kind of my personal rule for now, or goal thing, right? And I do think there is some kind of resistance. I mean, there's obviously some resistance in myself when it comes to using references. I think it's a pride thing, right? Like, I think it's because I don't meet my own personal high expectations, right? Because I'm always exposed to like just go to ArtStation. Even the art reviews in this channel, right? Just check out the playlist. These people are like beyond me. And it's just like that is my expectation. Like the sum of all of those artists, that average quality, that is my high standard, right? So always comparing myself, like I'm comparing myself to that expectation, which is not bad. You know, it's good to kind of have something to look up to, but if I don't, or if I do use reference, I feel like I'm not like my favorite artists, right? Because a lot of the best ones can make things up just from their imagination, right? And if I can't do that, I feel like I can't be them, which is kind of dumb because the best had to study a lot and continue to study, right? I mean, think of Kim Jong-gi, right? He still like draws, I'm guessing from reference or from life, right? He tends to draw his current kind of environment, so he doesn't really stop sketching or painting at all, right? So there's this kind of big disconnect. Like I feel like the best don't study, but they actually do study, you know? Like when did studying for me become something that's beneath me, right? I mean, it's kind of retarded and dumb, right? It's something that's it's putting me back, setting me back, right? I could be developing so much more if I just use fucking references, bro. Right? Oh, by the way, I'll be linking a video by, I forgot the name of the artist, or the YouTube channel, but I think it's some kind of anime channel, like a manga anime kind of art style channel. And he released this video on how to use references, or how he uses references. And I do think it's a good video. It's a bit straight to the point, and I think he was talking about applying the principles of art or design or shapes, and how to kind of break down the references you have so you can apply them to your own kind of work. So I will link that video in the description below. And I do recommend you subscribe to his channel as well, because, you know, I mean, he's a bigger channel than mine. Like, I think he has like 100K, so yeah, I'm very, you know, anyway. So yeah, studying shit, or using references, especially studying, like it shouldn't be beneath me, you know, it should be a part of me, right? Like if I want to develop a skill, I have to make studying, right, a part of my own lifestyle. So I feel like a lot of this thing is more of a lifestyle issue, you know, because in my perception, I guess, was if I just did this thing, then everything else would be okay, you know, right? Did I say that right? Fuck. Like, I feel like there's this, or the irrational assumption is that by doing this one thing, one time, that solves everything else, right? And it's kind of dumb, because it's not that formulaic, you know, like it's a continuous process, I guess. And I think it's more about my lifestyle. Like, I don't spend enough time studying shit, you know? It's like me always taking the test without me actually studying, right? I'm too focused on trying to get the check marks and shit and getting 100% that I actually forgot to, you know, like study, you know, behind the scenes, right? I notice how when you take exams, the exams is kind of the final thing, right? Most of the time is studying, right? And then the test of creation of your ability, right, is just, it happens like once in a while. So for art, obviously we want to create a lot of things, right? But, you know, I think there should be a lean, maybe. I think there should be more time spent studying than creating, right? Because the more you study, the more you have in terms of ideas and skills to be able to create more, right? Like, you have to learn new things to create new things, right? Right. So that's kind of the mindset that I have right now, right? um, less imagination. I mean, when you're studying, you are kind of using imagination sometimes when you're trying to explore or exaggerate certain forms. When you're experimenting, breaking things down, you are kind of imagining like what something looks like in 3D, or what something looks like in a certain position, right? So there is the imagination part is being used, right? But you have to tone the whole creation part down, especially if you're struggling with, like you keep painting the same things, and if ever you have the same things, they tend to be in the same position, the same subject, and I mean, it's nice to have a focus, but if you feel bad about having to paint that specific thing, and you're kind of like, like meh, like you may have to step back and study more. So I guess, yeah, I should do more studies. Even when doing the videos, I think I should share more of my process of studying, right? And I think it could be a phase. I mean, I know this has to be like a lifestyle thing, but maybe what would I recommend for myself? Well, I would say every day I should spend time just studying shit. Right? Just study. Lots of drawing, sketches, paintings, and they shouldn't be that long, right? Like master studies are okay, but sometimes you can get into the like sometimes you're so focused on the study that you end up copying something one to one, and that's not as analytical. Like I want to focus more on analytical kinds of studies, where you really try to understand like the shape design, the silhouettes, right? The gestures, the forms, the chunks of meat and shit, right? Some detail studies or some texture studies. I think it has to be more deliberate, specific, and analytical in nature than just like copying things one to one, because that's not really studying. You're just trying to replicate something, right? So studying art or studying from references has more to it. So again, I do recommend watching the guy's video on how to use references, and yeah, and you don't have to study everything. It's okay to have a bit of focus. For me, I do know the base, since I've done enough work, or I have enough volume, not enough, but I have enough work where I can tell that I like mechs, I like creatures, and I like women. Right? When it comes to women, yeah, anime girls are definitely the best, the waifus, but they don't necessarily have to be human, and that's why they're kind of like creatures as well. Like I like the sensual aspect of things, but not too much, because sometimes it's I want some like machines and shit, right? So I was writing a few notes, I think yesterday, just trying to get like an idea of what I want to like the energy that I want to see in my work. For example, when it comes to mechs and shit, I keep going back to John Wall and Liberto, Shinku Kim, and Nivan Shanthar. No, Nivan Shanthar's mechs, they're kind of creature-like, so it's kind of like a nice transition to the whole creature thing. For the whole creature thing, I don't really have... They're kind of so mixed. Like they can be turned into mechs if you just change the parts of it, right? But they can also be somewhat humanoid. So I guess the extreme end would be mechs, and the other end would have to be like human beings, like in my case, women, right? So when it comes to like creatures and women, I'm thinking of Anthony Jones, Milan Nikolic, and there's another guy. Shit. I can't remember the guy's name, but maybe Puppeteer Lee. perhaps, right? I guess, but he's kind of like, he also does mechs. Like his babes have like mechanical parts, so I guess it becomes like a full circle thing. You start with mechs and then you end up like, you know, in mechs again, or chicks with, you know, mech parts. Anyway, so that's kind of the focus that I have. I like mechs, creatures also, and women. So when it comes to studying shit, study mechanical parts for the creature stuff. You know what? Let's be even more specific. It doesn't have to be like, not everything has to be not everything has to be based on reality. You know, it can be, you can study other artists because often they have a way of breaking things down that's way more efficient, right? So you get to make that decision. You know, you don't always have to limit yourself to just real life types of photos. I mean, it helps, it's important, and I do recommend you study, right? So you can kind of see how you would personally break something down, but it's not bad to study the works of other artists, right? To see how they break things down themselves, because every artist has their own kind of a shortcut, I guess, for approaching certain lighting schemes, form designs, right? So it's good to like study how they would break something down. So maybe it's good to have like a list of artists to study and to keep that list small. And that's kind of the issue that I have, because I have so many. I mean, just check out the art review series. There's like 100 plus now, and I still have more to review, just because I just like seeing, you know, good art, right? But I should know when to stop and be more contained. Like I should add on my own limits or constraints, right? So I can be more creative with that specific set of things and be more resourceful, I guess. Hopefully you're getting what I'm trying to say here. So yeah, when it comes to studies, have a list of artists to study and subjects. For me, it's mechs, creatures. For the creatures, I want to limit myself to, I mean, I could study other artists, but there are some designs that I find amazing, right? Like the xenomorph design in the Alien series, the Predator or Yatwa, right? I'm trying to sound like the Yatwa, but I do like the kind of aggressive tone. And now for the xenomorph, it has a bit of that sensual kind of aspect to it. Very, very erotic, right? Just check out Geiger's work, H.R. Geiger's work. Very, very dark, but erotic, right? And a bit organical mech-ish, right? So there are some, you could have like a list of artists, and at the same time, you could have a list of specific concepts that you find interesting. For example, for the mechs, the Evangelion kinds of mechs are, they kind of speak to me the most, or I find them most fascinating, right? Because there are many kinds of mechs, like the Transformers kind of mechs. For those designs, they're a bit more intricate and they look cool, but I don't want to see all of the insides of the mech. Because for the Transformer series or types of mechs, they're a bit exposed. I mean, there are some armored parts, right, where it's kind of covered, but you still get to see like a lot of the interior parts, and I'm not really into that whole thing. Like, I want a more fully armored kind of thing. So for me, the Evangelion, the Ava mechs, they're the best of all, I guess. And also the Pacific Rim mechs, or the Jaegers, right? They're more of my cup of tea. So it's good to have maybe a list of artists, right? A list of designs, concepts, and a list of subjects for which the artists and those subject or those concepts are kind of under in, right? So yeah, so when it comes to studies, don't study everything, right? Try to be more focused. I mean, I'm not saying don't. It's just good to have limits, you know, and not overdo things. Because assuming this is going to be a part of your lifestyle, it has to be sustainable, right? You can't just do it. You're not going to do it once and then you figure everything out from there. It's a constant process. And yeah. And also, don't, unless you're doing it for like a specific project. Wait, I had a point. Shit. Because this whole thing with the whole reference thing, like I can't tell if I just, like, I have an impulse to just not, or maybe it's not so much that I don't want to use reference. I think I just have that impulse to create something immediately, right? And which is not bad. It's nice to, it's a great way to jot down ideas quickly, right? To have the kind of mentality of just diving in. But when it comes to refining concepts, I need to, use references, right? Because my concepts aren't going to be as fleshed out and defined if I don't have something to base it on, right? Fuck. So just stop painting, right? Just stop painting from imagination for a while, right? Spend some time, or a bulk of your time, say 80% or 70% studying. Now, of course, this would depend on your situation, Use that remaining time or that remaining percentage to kind of test your current ability, right? Or not even. Because you could technically create something while you're studying, right? Like maybe you have a certain reference, you kind of recreate it multiple times, and then you make something that's more you, where you hardly base it on the reference, where you can't see the reference rather. And then that's a great way to kind of test your, or end your study session perhaps. I still haven't figured out how to study in this way, but I do know that I do need to do more studies, right? And make it a part of my lifestyle. So this is again more of a lifestyle issue. And maybe I should stop chasing the idea of making something from imagination, right? Because it takes time, and it's good to be influenced by a lot of high tier artists, but you have to tone that down and kind of understand that you're not there yet, right? Over time you'll be able to make something kind of on the fly, right? And again, even they still use references, so no shame, right? No shame. I think it's a mix of an ego pride thing, right? Maybe you're just kind of insecure if you don't use reference, or if you do use reference, like you feel like you're lesser. And that's kind of dumb, right? That's super dumb. So yeah, maybe take away or just tone down the ego part. Spend time studying and make it a part of your lifestyle. So yeah, stop painting from imagination. Ish. I guess, perhaps. Depends. It depends on what your goal is, but for me, in my journey, I should stop painting from imagination. In general, for now, right? And again, it's a lifestyle thing. It's not like I'll never paint something from imagination. It's just, I need to make this hard turn and just study, right? Just paint with references, right? I mean, yeah, there are study sessions, which is great, which are great, but I should also, whenever I do like specific illustrations or projects, again, I have to use reference. I can't just keep making something when I have nothing, right? Yeah, because that's kind of art, right? You make something out of something that's lesser, or you make something new out of something. You're not necessarily making something from nothing. You're making something out of something else. So, anyway. So this is a morning session, morning talk. Yeah. So hopefully you can see me paint something or study something perhaps in the background while I'm, having a chat here. Yeah. So what are my tips? What are my specific points? Or call to actions? Spend some time studying, and with references, only with references, right? Analyze, break things down, be more analytical when you're doing these studies. And when you're doing like specific projects, or freelance work or whatever, a personal project, portfolio work, use references, right? Don't try to make things from imagination. Don't make painting from imagination your focus. It's a nice kind of byproduct of it ought to be a byproduct of your dedication to make good art from good references. Let it come naturally, right? Don't force it in, right? So yeah, study with references, make projects with references. And I would emphasize more on the studies just because it's more of a lifestyle thing. Projects come and go. You won't always get jobs or personal projects, because they tend to just happen on their own, right? Based on inspiration and shit like that, or a need, right? So more on the studies with references, right? So yeah, keep training, keep painting, keep learning, and stay free.